Welcome back to our series on the 5 pillars that you absolutely have to address in order to see successful, sustainable weight loss. Again, I am Katie. I am an integrative nutrition health coach, personal trainer, and Kundalini yoga teacher, and I work with women with PCOS to help them lose weight, regulate their cycles, and calm their symptoms naturally. So today we are going to dive into regulating your nervous system. Now, this is huge. We kind of talked about stress a little bit yesterday when it comes to hormonal alignment, but today we're going to dive even deeper into stress and why it is so important for women with PCOS to really get a hold on their stress response and managing stress. So just to recap a little bit about what we talked about yesterday. So women with PCOS tend to have not great stress responses, and a big part of that can definitely come from your blood sugar not being balanced and insulin resistance. Because remember, if you have insulin resistance, it can increase your cortisol levels, which is your main stress hormone, and increased cortisol can mess with your insulin resistance as well. What stress can also do when it comes to your hormones is it can really tax your adrenal glands, meaning it can send your adrenals into overdrive because your adrenal glands are the main producers of cortisol. And what happens when your adrenals are producing all of this cortisol, they're actually also producing these androgens as well, because they can work to kind of balance cortisol in your body. But as a woman with PCOS, and like we talked about yesterday, you don't really want all of those excess androgens floating around in your body, especially if you've already got PCOS, because remember, excess androgens are what's responsible for irregular cycles, hair where you don't want it, balding on your head, acne, and weight gain. So we really don't want that extra stress to be causing even more excess androgens to be floating around in your body. So let's talk about some of the symptoms that can come along with elevated cortisol. So we talked about this a little before, but we're just going to recap. So the big ones are cravings, especially for sweet and salty, feeling exhausted during the day, even if you got enough sleep, having trouble falling asleep at night, having these racing thoughts. And then some more serious ones are things like anxiety and depression. And I know that a lot of women with PCOS, unfortunately, also suffer from anxiety or depression. So that's why it's very important to really work on your stress response. Another big reason we want to work on your stress response and managing stress is so that we can regulate your nervous system. Now, what I'm talking about here when it comes to stress is making sure that you are able to be in that parasympathetic nervous system state. So what happens when we encounter stress is our sympathetic nervous system turns on. So your sympathetic nervous system is that fight or flight response. When you see that tiger or a bear, you're either ready to fight it or you're ready to run away. So all of your energy goes to your extremities so you can fight or get away. But unfortunately, when that happens, our other bodily processes are kind of put on hold because you don't really need to digest anything to run away. Your liver doesn't really need to be working on detoxing if you're trying to run for your life. So that's where our parasympathetic nervous system comes in. So our parasympathetic nervous system is the nervous system we like to call our rest and digest nervous system. So this is the one where we can do hormonal balance, move into detoxing, making sure our liver is functioning well, our gut health is functioning well, making sure our hormones are balanced, and of course, being able to lose weight. So when you're in this constant state of stress, you're literally teaching your body to stay in that fight or flight mode, that mode where those kind of secondary processes to running are not running optimally because, again, they're not needed to run away. So even though we're teaching our bodies, it's not, an on purpose thing, but when we are not managing stress, our body doesn't know how to deal with that stress in any other way. So that's why you stay in this fight or flight mode, that constant state of stress, anxiety. So it's really important that we find a way to manage stress so that we can one, lower cortisol levels, and two, make sure that you're able to take advantage of your parasympathetic nervous system, because that's where the healing and the weight loss is going to happen, the hormonal balance, all of those things. So some tips to help you regulate your nervous system and lower stress are meditate, number one. I tell all of my clients to do this. And that doesn't necessarily mean, sitting still in silence, trying to keep your mind totally blank. Instead, you want to just kind of detach from the thought. So as the thought comes into your head, maybe it's your grocery list, instead of saying, oh my goodness, what do I need to get at the grocery store? Just saying, okay, grocery list, and just letting it go. Another great option for people who don't necessarily like to sit still is going for a nice nature walk, because forest bathing is another great way to really release stress and just connect with nature. Another tip to work on your cortisol levels and your stress response is to look at your caffeine intake. Now, I know this one can be very hard. I myself love coffee and have had to switch over to majority decaf, but your caffeine can increase your stress levels, can increase your cortisol levels, and that's not what we're trying to do when it comes to our stress and PCOS. And then finally, and I find this one to be kind of hard with women just because we're nurturers, we're caretakers, is to set firm boundaries. Now, that doesn't mean that you're saying no to everyone, you're becoming a hermit and just, not reliable, you're not the caretaker anymore, but it's really important to create time for you, to really carve out that time in the day, even if it's just 15 minutes, to have that time for a little bit of self-care where you're not interrupted, where your partner or your kids aren't coming in and disturbing you, but you have that time to rest and recharge and just kind of let the stress slide off of you. All right, I really hope that you found this video helpful. And if you're looking for more tips on how to regulate your nervous system, how to deal with stress, reduce the anxiety, then I encourage you to click that button and book a call with me so that we can talk about you, your PCOS, what you've got going on, all of your symptoms and the underlying causes, which might be a dysregulated nervous system, and then look at how I can support you in overcoming those things and finally seeing real weight loss with PCOS.